Sup world, sup Zion, Space Easy, coming at you again once more. And as usual, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you. Alright. So, of course, copyright disclaimer for the materials that are going to be shown in this here video. Alright. For purposes of criticism, review, and education, of course. Alright, so let's get to it. So are they saying that they had data that Venezuela was doing this for years and they just sat on it and right? And now they are utilizing it, right? Basically putting a crime, right? They have not provided evidence, but basically they have turned their piracy to a, I don't know, marine safety operation or something. Wow. Right? Now they have this narrative going around that somehow the special forces of the Americans was involved in the extraction. So what? They didn't have eyes on her. So what is this oppression and all of the things that we talked about the last time we covered this subject pertaining to this character here? Well, for you who don't know what happened, you can update yourself on a recent attack near Turkey. Well, you can pause and read for yourself, and of course I'm gonna circle back to this. You can look at that yourself. Well, this admission will cost some people. It will. They just don't see it yet. And more admissions. But those who are smart, they're already protecting themselves by, of course, shaping the narrative. Yeah. Like I said many times, Turkey is in a rock between a rock and a hard place. All right? You're too powerful and too independent. So, yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you what this is about, or rather show you. So we are gonna cover this also. Well, the data munchers, right? Still hungry. They want even more integration. And at the end of that integration is this said exhausted worker here making themselves irrelevant, right? Because make no mistake, we do have AI right now that can write programs. It exists right now, and it's only getting better. Okay? Well, somebody wants you two to fight, that's for sure. You Pakistani and Indians, you need to make some sort of arrangement. I'm not calling for the settlement of all of your issues, but again, this disconnect is not healthy. Well, the Turkey situation is about this one here. right? And of course, this is also keep this in mind when we cycle back to that whole agenda of which we covered a little bit at the end of the last video, if I'm not mistaken, covering NAM and the new colonialism, right? So keep this in the back of your head when we circle back to that, right? Because this is a real phenomenon. It's a real phenomenon, especially in the most important industries, right? Especially in those, right? Mineral extraction, energy, and of course, armament, right? These are the conversations that I want to have, right? So they're after my guy here from RFI, from Benin. Of course, they stripped him of his nationality, and of course, he's from also Benin. But he's the advisor to President Goita, if I'm not mistaken, from Mali. I know Mali, Niger. That just continued meeting. So they say they provided logistical support. French special forces were sent from Abidjan, used for mop-up operation. Now I don't know by what military operational standards does a mop-up operation constitute or become a logistic operation. These are two different things. But again, admission of crime. So let's get back to the madness, right? You know these slides are all about, right? Instead of ensuring compliance with EU treaties, the European Commission is systematically violating European law, and is doing so in order to continue its war in Ukraine, which is clearly lost. Orban said that in the European Union, the rule of law was being replaced by the rule of bureaucrats, which he described as the establishment of blasphemous dictatorship, which is, I don't see a lie anywhere, right? We have been covering these people every day and their statements. So the question about this emergency power, I think it is only activated for members. But again, that like they say, they're trying to maneuver. Now this is that maneuver. Now Italy is joining. Now Italy has shaken up the diplomatic dynasty by drafting a document with Belgium, Malta, Bulgaria, urging the Commission to explore alternative options to using the Russian assets to keep Ukraine afloat over the coming years. Well, you already know, we already talked about your options A, B, and C. I'm not going to repeat them. So Russia files a lawsuit. And of course, these people, these warmongers, they are drafting a plan to include the EU, Ukraine to be over there, and they are demanding on the 1st of January, right? I can't even pronounce, but I must say Ola. Ukraine's ambassador to the United States confirmed that Umarov met with the FBI leadership and told Washington Post that he only covered national security related issues. Well, this is gonna be relevant, so we're gonna put it in the documents, right? Somewhere in the files. Well, IFFs, and by the way, by their very exclusive nature, right? They're hard to track. But the Center for Global Development has indicated we are losing 8 to 8 billion of money stolen and sent overseas to that particular country over there. Again, the rule of law or the rule of bureaucrats. Now it's a discussion for all Europeans, right? Even these people here, they're Europeans, but they're pretending not to be. And some idiots are actually buying it. That's the most, I don't know what to call it, bizarre thing, right? Maybe some of them are confusing, right? Because they are running programs to, it's crazy. This is us circling back to that attack from Syria. This is what they're saying, right? I don't hear him saying a lot of anything about school shootings or anything like that. It's just quiet, crickets, literally, because that involves confronting fellow white men. He'd rather focus on external enemies. Maybe it's the black people, maybe it's the Mexicans, maybe it's the Arabs, maybe it's not us. Like this is unfortunate, but they are not going to have any conversations on how can this happen over and over and over in their spaces. Is it a safety issue? Or is this a psychological issue? Just putting it there. Yeah, the Frenchmen are talking. I don't think it has sunk in deep enough for people to apprehend. You know, it was just like the Ukrainians. You know, everything was, you know, A-okay. And then everything changed abruptly. Well, talk about it now. This whole situation here stinks. And I'ma do what I do best. I'ma wait. I know how the Europeans are treating Rwanda and how the Europeans are treating Congo, how the Americans are treating Rwanda, how they're treating Congo. All of it. I'm saying it. Well, they're telling you exactly what they're going to do with this system. I'm going to show you. And of course, trying to fit in, that's their problem. That's not their policy. That's the European Union's policy of surveillance, right? So we're going to add him, Davido, and that woman, what's her name? Kemi, from the UK. So, circling back to the ever-moving yellow line. They're just selling lands and expos, and they're great. you know. Unfortunate. No single apology, no admission, no nothing. Just pretending like this thing did not happen. That's a scary people. Meaning, it's not regrettable from their perspective, and maybe they might repeat it. That's what that silence means. It's not good. Again, you remember that question I asked? What common thing do you have with these people? I asked you that serious question because it's very crucial. These people are abnormal, and we have to talk about it, right? And stop pretending and stop being non-player characters in life, right? NPCs. So what, you want us to open up for colonialism or something while you tariff other countries? Nah, we want fair trade. We don't want no dictation from no one. You're not the only country that we can sell to. Admittedly, you are one of the biggest market, but not the only one. That's the reality that you have to wake up to. During Biden's administration. So let's go through these few videos.
Israeli officials considered nuking the United States if we stopped supplying them with weapons for Gaza. Think I'm exaggerating? No. Take a listen to this interview from last month. I was told by certain people in the government, look, we didn't have choice because we were being threatened with a complete cutoff of arms. So I listened to this, and the individual telling me this said, you don't believe this? Or what? I said, oh, I believe that the Biden administration, as I called it, did threaten us. But I said, you're mistaken if you think there's never a choice. There was a choice. He said, well, what? Is it to have our weapons cut off? I said, no, let me bring you back to October 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, when Henry Kissinger instituted an arms embargo against us. He stopped the aerial resupply of our army at that point to extract diplomatic
consistency. So what then? If there is consistency, then what does that leave? Delusion. Delusion. That's what is left. Right? If consistency is established and people ignore said consistency.
The concessions from us. And what happened? What happened was an A4 Skyhawk was parked at Tel Nof Air Base with some interesting weapons under its wings. And we told the Americans, take your eye in the sky and take a good look at the airplane that's on that runway. And the next day, the airlift started. So the guy that I was talking, which airlift? To Israel, the arms airlift. So in other words, we threatened to use unconventional weapons. So I'll leave it at that. And so he said, is this what you want us to threaten now? I said, absolutely, except this time I want us to go forward with it if necessary. If they think we're bluffing, we go forward with it. Look, wait, some people might look at this and hear you saying these things and say, he's a dangerous dude, he could, blow up the entire Middle East. That was Jonathan Pollard. He's an Israeli spy that spent 30 years in U.S. prison for sending U.S. intelligence to Israel. Been discovered today that Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, met with him in July. Apparently, Mike Huckabee had it off his official schedule, and U.S. officials didn't know. Apparently, the CIA station chief in Israel had no idea Mike Huckabee was having this.
FBI and CIA, they're busy, huh? All over. Just committing crimes left and right.
Meeting as well. Apparently, the CIA station chief in Israel.
You can have a read at least a couple paragraphs.
Was alarmed and had no idea about this meeting as well. That's what's really going on behind the scenes if you're wondering the truth of the relationship between the United States and Israel. During Biden's administration, Israeli...
First, Santa's husband. This book tells the story of Santa, his husband, and their life at the North Pole. And I want to assure everyone that...
It's funny, even so-said Christians have these demons in their houses as part of the holidays.
This is the true story of Mr. and Mr. Claus.
Mr. and Mr. Claus, wow.
Is this approved? Is this what you're telling the children to read? Is this...
If this stuff hit the public school in Tanzania here, yeah, it's not gonna end well. Let's just say that.
Okay in your guidance? I'm not aware that that book is...
What is the... Are they black and melanated and the white Santa over there? They're like, wow.
Lieutenant, you're not aware of what's going on in your school system? You don't know what's printed? It's trash. That's what good that is. Here's a great one here. These are my eyes, this is my nose, this is my vulva, these are my toes. I'm gonna read a passage for you out of it. This is for your school. Some boys have a penis, but not all boys do. So always use your manners. May I ask what I can call you? This is damn trash. Pure trash you're putting to these children.
Remember what I told you about the measure of a true humane, quote-unquote, conservatives in the Western world? Two of them. We talked about them yesterday.
And again, here we go. It isn't rude to be nude for 4-year-olds approved by your district. I hope y'all can see what these children, 4-year-olds, are looking at. Nude photos. Freaking trash. Do you think it's appropriate for 4-year-olds to be exposed to naked men and women and soft?
No, it's not appropriate that students are exposed to, but I don't have any knowledge.
Then why are these recommended in your school district? It's
I
on
have no
your
knowledge.
page.
I have no...
My guy say he has no knowledge.
When we invest...
Okay, remember that question I kept insisting that you ask yourself, right? What do you have in common with these people? Okay, let's go.
in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce...
Let's do this again.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe...
And you people wanted to vote for this demon here. You black folk that are now so proud that the opposite has happened and now people are fearful. Like you say. Let's go.
Breathe clean air and drink clean water.
First, we've got population.
They even clapped. Can you even imagine that? They clapped, right? And for those who don't know, that's that formula over there, right? I think I talked about that formula. I don't remember if it's in this channel or but he goes into detail. It's just a formula that he developed, right? To combat this said climate, whatever.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion.
That is not a fact. That is not a fact. If you know what I'm saying, the math doesn't math sometimes.
Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare,
reproductive health services. We could lower that by...
Remember what we talked about the colonialism?
Perhaps 10 or 15%. What do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
And substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
Please think about what you and your organization.
These people here, right? These conservatives and climate activists. These are the mothers of this agenda here. Believe me, these are the first people that I was exposed to personally and seen them weird, right? They show more affection to animals than to their fellows. Believe me, there are people that exist like that. And it tells, they hate themselves, right? They hate themselves, right? Like this guy here, this Fink, like all of these people, what do you have in common with them? You know, there is something wrong with these people, right? These tree huggers and people who love and invest more on animals than on people. It's amazing, right? You'll be astonished at how much money the Western world, or basically the entire world, spends on quote-unquote conservation. And it's all a scam, and they know it is. We found this world like this, and we're gonna leave it, and it's gonna be fine. That is a scientific and a mathematical fact. Okay, our greed cannot consume the world. If it was so, then this world will not exist right now. There won't be nothing left. So why do they create then this artificial pressure? It's psychological warfare. They want you to kill yourself, and there are people who have done it. People who have removed their ability to reproduce because of buying the propaganda of these people here. These things are dangerous. That's why I talk about them. And if it doesn't sink in, I'm gonna talk about them, right? But when your children become victims, don't say that you were not told, right? People are getting whole vasectomies and stuff, right? It's a clutch, of course. They're just selfish at the core. Even these people here, right? It's crazy work, brothers and sisters. I don't know what to tell you.
Can do to help human population decrease.
Right? She is concerned from baboons, you know, or whatever the hell chimpanzees, right? She doesn't say that about chimpanzees. No. She comes out here every day. It's literally her life's mission. Please, we need to create an environment where we can have more chimpanzees. And when you turn it to ask them about humans, they say, like, what? This is confusing. So their cause is fraudulent. It's a scam. Right? And you have to find out the connection that Kamala was establishing right in front of your face. What is the connection between electric cars and smart cities to population decrease? What's the connection? How does an electric car help decrease the population of a country? Or at least maintain the same figure, which is the same thing, is decreasing, because people die. That's another fact, a scientific and a mathematical one. So if you are not increasing, then you are decreasing. There isn't anything such thing as a neutral. No. Even that neutrality is only temporary. But it should be considered a decline because the population is aging. It's not improving or by any way. Yeah? The same guy who had a pin for hanging Palestinians, right? Who have been held, most of them without due process. Right? Him and this guy, this genius here in Ben Gavir, same boat. Weirdos. I mean, how messed up is your society to even give birth to such a person? Like, your society has to be like, not even sick at this point, rotten, a corpse. Okay? Breeding zombies. Right? People with no apprehension of consequence. They think they're even above that. And the sensible people, they're the ones that get isolated. I'm not surprised, I'm not shocked. Right? I have read the book, and it says, we have covered that portion of the book, that you're gonna get persecuted for the truth. That's just the reality. Right? And he is worried about the next election, and they're gonna be in there. And that's a fact. They're gonna be in there. Trying to destabilize and insert their person. If by then the bloc even exists. Even if Europe by then exists, we don't know. Right? There's so much stupidity going on. Mr. Brovkin here has insights. This is the same thing, right? They're sabotaging economic well-being of people. I know this is a campaign from Kenya. This is just a fact. Again, pattern of behavior. Right? Pattern of behavior. They see that our artists here in Tanzania, they're extremely successful. I would say the most successful in this whole region here. Right? Literally, the biggest stars in the whole of East Africa. And if you're big in East Africa, then you're big everywhere else. One of the hardest industry to penetrate and the easiest industry to penetrate. And that has been a target. Yeah? And I don't really care very much because they are not really conscious anyway. Right? But again, the truth is the truth. There is a sabotage going on. Right? And the economic warfare has evolved, right? From confrontation now to this form of warfare. We can even see a fine example, right? That band in the UK, which was banned from performing because they were talking for the Palestinian people, right? And sharing their perspective on things, their views, right? Because they're being oppressed and suppressed. What other way is there? So, this is what is coming. This is that slavery, right? This is that slavery, right? Even in the movie Ready Player One, they showcase this slavery, right? That girl with the scar after she was captured, you can look it up. And there are many, many movies, right? will lead to slavery, just like in the past. Again, consistency. So what is left? Ignorance or malice. So when I preach that people should be enabled to eat, clothe themselves, shelter, all of these necessities, water, these are the things that are going to be necessary in the future to quell the confusion and the uncertainty of the times that we are in, right? So all of these calls for coups and stuff, I understand why, because I know what these times are, right? But again, people need to be honest with themselves that they're actually projecting. You are projecting your fears, okay? You are projecting your fears and acting as if they are reality. The world has always been like this, brothers and sisters. These are not new phenomenon, right? We have fun here, we talk about them, right? But these are not new phenomenons. The world has been like this, right? But now the difference is that everything is just so open, you know? Just the desperation level has risen. And that has caused a change of behavior, that there is no secrecy anymore, right? They don't threaten countries anymore using ambassadors, sending memos to the presidents and stuff. No. Now they do it on X. That's the difference, right? Now they do it on X. Now they do it on live TV, right? And the sheer hypocrisy that we are seeing. This is that thing that I'm talking about, right? That hypocrisy and projecting, and it's a disease, right? It's a disease. Yeah, again, if you give everything time, everything will reveal itself. Now people are finding out maybe she isn't a victim after all. Now I would say the same thing with the Diddy case. That is the strategic attack. And people are actively participating in the conspiracy, right? Even the so-called documentary by 50 Cent, right? They want you to partake in the conspiracy. They did the same thing to Bill Cosby. They did the same thing to, right, that ball player. I don't remember his name, right? The one with the Bronco. Yeah, the white Bronco. Smoking mirrors. Okay, smoking mirrors. They want your attention this way so as they can do this thing. Okay, there isn't any difference between 50 Cent and P. Diddy. They are all in the same club doing the same things. It's actually part of the thing, right? The level of debauchery, they all have the same levels, but they might try to excuse it as, oh, maybe this is the excuse. That this is how idiotic people have grown, right? They say that 50 did this because Diddy basically invited the baby mother of 50 to one of those parties, right? And there are pictures out there. Like, so what? Are you not gonna hold the woman responsible at this? Like, the same questions are asked about these whole females that end up in the Epstein Island and all of these young girls. Like, where's your father and mother at? Like, why are we not talking about that, right? Let's ask the okay, let's investigate the real case here. Like, how did you end up to this island? Please explain. Right? And then we judge everything case by case. Right? But they don't want you to do that. Right? They just want you to like do a wholesale. Things don't work like that. Again, details. You gotta ask for details, because in the details, the conspiracy will be revealed. Okay? So again, right? What the Wayne brother, that Marlo Wayne, came out and say, that is the truth. That is the truth. But again, they want you to hate the truth and love the lie. But again, these are not new things, nor are they new phenomenons. So, again, talking about investigations. So this, yes, a Jewish event was attacked. How did you then conclude the motives of the person executing said offense, that his motivation was anti-Semitism? How did you come to that conclusion? Maybe it was robbery gone wrong. Maybe it's jealousy. Like, what type of... They're trying to paint a narrative, so they are coming for you. That's what you need to know, right? They are coming for your rights. Okay? And I'm gonna show you. Again, now they're not using the bus size comparisons anymore, right? They have to like keep the anxiety up there, right? Now, of course, like I said, right? This is not what you see. They're speaking in code. There's a planetary defense. Planetary defense grid, right? They're just exposing themselves and their so-called space weapons. Right? So, of course, they're gaming you, right? So what are these actions that they want ramping up of? That's the question you need to ask yourself as a quote-unquote Australian, right? What type of steps were they taking to combat anti-Semitism? Because now they're gonna ramp up because of this, right? And it's not beneath them to hurt their own people to push their agenda. Look at October 7. They had all gunships just laying waste so as they can have their war over there, right? They have protocols and stuff which allows them to annihilate you for the sake of the movement, the Zionist movement, because it's not for the majority. Let me just say that. This is the best you can do. You dismiss. Again, they think that they believe that they set the standard for what is lawful and what is normal and what is abnormal, right? They are the standard, right? So we're gonna find out. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. A lot of contradictory things have been coming out, and I'm interested. Genuinely, I'm interested. And do even people understand what Article 5 means? Like, really? And does that admission set well, or rather this admission to NATO, because they're the ones that are active for Article 5, that it involves them, and that has been a red line. I think we have had this conversation before. No NATO expansion. You remember that? And Article 5 is that part of that NATO. Now I don't know if the Americans are stupid enough to do this, but hey, if they were threatened with a whole nuclear bomb and they, I don't know, turned into chihuahuas, yeah. That was a lot, wasn't it? So yeah, it was a hectic week, right? A hectic week. But again, we are just here to calm the raging waters, because there's so much confusion and distractions, right? Most of the things that we talk about here, brothers and sisters, they are distractions, right? We try to make sense and to back engineer their plans, right, in order to always remain ahead. But again, the reality still remains, right? Distractions, right? For the governments, these things are important, but for normal civilians, not so much. They should know about them, but not so much. So yeah, leadership. And whatever or wherever how your society describes it, that's what is required right now, right? But again, there isn't any specific form of leadership required in a specific region only. No, it's like these conservatives, they say we are conservative, so you're just normal, right? Because whatever values that you have, all these quote-unquote conservative, everybody has them. Like, they are not specifically Western in any way. And in fact, they are actually in opposition to the so-called progressive West, the developed, right? You laid the models and the foundation for this filth and the funding of this filth of Mr. and Mr. Clouds, Anyway, let me put a pin on it right there. And we're gonna hear from each other when we hear from each other. Prince Easy, signing out. Love you. Bye.